Filming for Season 2 of Shadow and Bone has officially begun. Not only that, but the casting for the second season has also just recently been announced. Today we're giving you a Season 1 recap and what you could expect from this upcoming season. Now, let's get into it. We start in East Raska, where our protagonist, orphan cartographer Alina Starkov, is headed towards the food with her unit in the 1st Army. She arrives in Krybursk at the coastal army camp and is reunited with Mal, who is a tracker and her best friend. The two are excited since they have been paired up to go on a task in the mountains, but things don't go all the way they planned because Mal is suddenly chosen to go on a mission into the fold, which is pretty much a death sentence. Following morning, Alina realizes that she can't stop Mal from going on a mission, so she decides that it's better to go with him instead. She does this by burning all of the maps of the West Coast, which results in the superiors requesting a team of cartographers to cross the fold as well. Things, as you can imagine, don't go too well on the fold, and the volcra quickly begin to attack. Everything erupts in chaos. Amidst all this, some soldiers die and one manages to escape. A volcra suddenly attacks Alina, and this is where things get interesting. She's holding Mal's hand whilst the volcra has her in a grip, but suddenly her entire body erupts in light. This of course saves everyone on the skipper, and Alina passes out next to Mal. All this is happening, we're taken to the island of Kerch, where we see Kaz Brecker, who is a criminal mastermind, owner of a casino and leader of the Crows. One night, Kaz overhears that a wealthy merchant is looking to pay a hefty amount to someone who crosses the fold into East Ravka to retrieve something, but there's a problem. Pekka Rollins, who's a rival gang leader, knows of the job too. So in order to get ahead of him, Kaz tracks down a heart trender and manages to get an audience with the merchant first, who shows them his prisoner. The prisoner tells them about Alina and her powers. Shortly after this, he's shot by the merchant. Following this fiasco, the crew realizes that they have till sunset to figure out how to make the trip. Episode 2 starts with a flashback in which we see and learn that young Mal and Alina were supposed to be tested to see if they are Grisha, but the two hid and were never tested. Back to the present. Mal's taken away to the medics and Alina's a healer, and later she's taken to the Darkling, who has the power to summon Shadow's tent. There, Alina is confronted about her powers, but she's in complete denial. To see if the rumors about her being a sun summoner are true, he cuts part of her arm and we see a searing beam of light come out of her. Alina, shocked, barely has any time to register her own new identity as a Grisha and is quickly whisked away to the little palace. On the way there, though, they are ambushed by Fjordens. A few of the Grisha are killed, and Alina herself is caught by one and is almost killed until Kirigan saves her. After this, he decides to have her ride with him for the rest of the journey, and during their time together, he tries to bond with her, tells her that she is their only hope of destroying the fold. The two arrive at the little palace and Alina is taken to her room, which is nothing short of luxurious. Meanwhile, in Ketterdam, Kaz has a lead on someone who could help them cross the fold safely. Someone who goes by the name of Conductor. Inej has a problem though. She's still property of the Majere and can't leave Ketterdam until her debt is paid. Inej later goes to Helene, who tells her that her debt can be paid and she may leave Ketterdam if she kills the Conductor, who is in the business that brought Inej to Helene. Inej's religion is against killing, but because of how desperate she is, she goes anyway. Inej is almost about to kill him, but Kaz gets there in time to stop her and they realize that she can't kill the Conductor because then they'll have no way of getting across the fold. So without telling Inej, Kaz goes to Helene and says that if he doesn't pay in full for Inej after returning from East Ravka, she can have the Crow Club. Alina's dream, in which she sees a glowing stag, is interrupted when maids enter her room. She needs to get ready to meet the king. Among these maids is Grisha Taylor, named Genya, who helps Alina prepare and gives her a rundown of how things are in the little palace. Presentation with the king and his court goes successfully and Alina is able to show her powers to all of them. Later, Alina trains with the other Grisha, but is called a half-breed, treated horribly, and knocked out, so Kirigan decides to have her trained separately. After recovering Alina's head in the library where she meets the king's spiritual advisor, the Apparat, who is kinda really creepy, so she doesn't stay long to chat with him, but he does tell her about the story of the stag and how Morozova used to use animal bones to amplify his Grisha abilities. Alina goes to train with Baghar, an elderly, stubborn woman. During all this, Alina's been writing letters to Mal, but not received any reply. In West Ravka, the conductor along with the crows try to hatch a plan to get inside the little palace that involves a heart trender called Nina Zanik, but they later find out that she has been kidnapped by Fjordans. Demotivated, the conductor wants to back out, but Kaz says there's no turning back now, and they'll find a way inside after crossing the fold. After some mishaps, the crows safely make it into East Ravka. In episode 4, Alina slowly starts to become more accustomed to her Grisha lifestyle and continues her training. Kirigan tells Alina about the creation of the fold and how it was made by the Black Heretic, a Grisha who used forbidden magic and ended up killing hundreds and himself after creating the fold. Kirigan and Alina also start to become closer, and he tells her that they could save Ravka together. Later on, Kirigan tells one of his soldiers to look for Nina because she was working on a mission for him but hasn't been heard from in weeks. We find out that Nina is a prisoner on a Fjordan ship where she meets Matthias, a Fjordan soldier curious about Grisha. Later on, we found out that, like Alina, Mal had not received any of her letters, so when one day a general mentions that whoever finds Morozova's stag for Kirigan gets to go to a little palace, Mal sets out with two friends to locate it, and they succeed. But Mal is the only one who survives after being ambushed by Fjordan soldiers. Meanwhile, the crows make it into Ravka and manage to find a way to Little Palace that involves a heist and joining a troop. Everyone finds a way except for Kaz. In episode 5, Alina gets ready for the Winter Feat, which is supposed to feature a demonstration of her power to all the royals and people in power. At the same time, the conductor and crows hatch a plan to grab Alina after her demonstration. When it's time for the demonstration, noblemen whisper of uprising in the west and unsure of Alina's powers, but luckily for her, it goes smoothly, and Inej and Kaz, who were disguised as guards, are shocked to see Alina in action. Afterward, Alina heads to dinner and the crows put their plan in action, but it fails when the conductor turns out to be a West Ravkan spy and slits Alina's throat. However, it is not Alina he kills, but a decoy. Meanwhile, Alina is with Kirigan and he tells her to wait for him while he attends to something. He's told about the attempt on Alina's life. While she waits for him, Baghra suddenly appears and tells Alina that Kirigan is the Black Heretic and that he will use the stag and her for evil. Horrified, she escapes and crawls right into the crow's getaway carriage. Nina and Matthias, who are part of a shipwreck, and in order to survive, they both agree not to kill each other, and their alliance continues until they find a place to rest in. Back in Ravka, Alina is confronted by the crows but escapes. Eventually, she runs into Mal and they catch up and continue to be on the run. It's then revealed that he made Genya give Alina a ring he could use to track her. Alina and Mal find the stag but are captured by Kirigan, who kills the stag and uses its antlers to bind both Alina and her, which means he can use her power. He tells her that tomorrow they could go into the fold and show everyone what they can do. Later, Mal is visited by Kirigan, who tells him he had all of their letters to each other. Angered by this and his taunts, later in the night, Mal manages to escape. Meanwhile, the crows decide to call it quits and sneak into a skipper to get back to Ketterdam, but unbeknownst to them, it's the one that Alina is on it, and Mal manages to sneak onto it too. That's all we have for today. Thanks for watching.